All right, we are live coming at you again on Thursday. How's everybody doing out there? We got the gang back together again. We got Rue Black, we got Maximus Crypto, we got Crux of Crypto in the house. How the hell is everybody today?
A little gloomy today in Scottsdale. Not so sunny, but still a great day.
Not so, just like your attitude, not so sunny.
I'm like that guy off of NBA TV back in the day, like in 2004. He's like, I'm 88 and I feel great, but I'm not 88 and I'm not 48. I'm 45, but I feel absolutely great. I'm so glad to be here with you guys. We had a collab yesterday, myself and Crux. Got a couple of videos out. One of them aired today. And boy, oh boy, apparently the community, at least over Maximus Crypto, you guys really like Crux. I saw in the analytics. So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate, first of all, Max, for having me on. And those comments are pretty dope. So, there's definitely some more collabs to come in the future. So, and also, thank you for having me on CoinVault.
Hey, we love having you here, man. We love having you here.
Indeed.
Absolutely. So we got quite a bit to get into today across the crypto space. Saw another leg down on Bitcoin today, setting a lower low, a local low, about 58,136. What do you guys think? Are we going to continue down here, or are we going to bounce back and test around 60,770 as resistance first?
That's a really good question. You want to go ahead and on that one, Max? I saw you.
Well, no, what I was going to say is I wanted you to go because we talked about some of these things, and you have been very consistent on your channel, especially of calling some of these things, right? And you've taken screenshots of when you called it and so on. So by all means, I actually want to hear from you first on this.
All right. So I am a 4-year cyclist. I did call the top back in October, and I just went basically off of 1 year after the peak. We are headed into a year-long bear winter. And I put about $40,000 from a diminished return of 70% from 126. Should put us about 38, I think 40K, because it's more psychological. But I guess the question is, what's going on in the next 90 days? There's a lot that happens between now and when I think the bottom's going to be in around 40K. I do think since we did push through that 58,000 and we did set a new bear market low, most likely we'll probably go towards like 55, maybe come up and retest it, and then it is down and right. So what I like to do in crypto is think of things in months. So for example, if you look at like the month of August or like the month of September, these are typically bearish months. Now going into especially midterm years, it's pretty rough in terms of like traditional stocks as well. So we're starting to see what could possibly be an AI bubble pop. We've seen SpaceX start to crater just a little bit, and what I'm looking at is like monetary policy is starting to affect the markets. Altcoins took a hit in Q1, Q2. Bitcoin is finally taking the hit after its Bitcoin dominance peaked out at that golden cross about 3 weeks ago, and now going up the risk curve, we got stocks. So stocks and gold, they started taking their hits, but I do think in about 3 months, 90 days, we will be up and right from there.
Yeah, the way I look at it is like this. You mentioned the AI bubble, right? And in years before that, especially 2021 going to 2022, seemed like there was a metaverse bubble, to say the least, right? Mm-hmm. And now there's a lot of focus, especially in this last few days, on quantum again, especially what came out from the White House, Department of War, you name it. So to me, quantum is not a bubble, right? It's the most important thing out there as far as security goes. But it was interesting to hear your take on obviously AI and the bubble, and if you think it's going to go below 58K in regard to BTC and whatnot. How about you, Rue?
Honestly, I think quantum's way overblown. We've talked about that on here a lot, where it's like, okay, it's not like you can just go over to Best Buy and buy a quantum computer and hack someone's stuff. And if you could, you would hack the banks first. So there's way more to be worried about than freaking Bitcoin if quantum was a big problem. But that is definitely in the sphere right now, right? As you were talking about, Max, like so many people are really worried about it. But, well, I don't know if it's that big of a deal.
I agree with Rue on this one because here's the thing. when AI started becoming the popular narrative in crypto, what happened? We saw all of these. We saw hundreds of crypto projects trying every which way they could to squeeze a parallel to get that tag on their project. We're AI. We're AI. We're AI adjacent. We're like you had all these projects doing that. It literally had nothing to do with AI, but they have some little kind of sliver of AI in their project somewhere, like a bot or something. So now they're AI. I'm starting to see the same pattern take place with quantum resistance in projects. We're starting to see all these projects say, we're quantum resistant too. And, everyone's starting to say that now. So I think you're going to start to see all these projects, and you're going to see videos all over YouTube, people saying, well, now this project, and then now my project's quantum resistant. And it's, even though, I mean, what does it really mean at the end of the day? I got to agree with Rue on this, that if quantum computing can hack your favorite crypto project, we have bigger problems like nuclear weapons and things like that are probably more of a priority than or your bank account, right?
Right. Like it's like gluten free. It's like things that were already gluten free are now saying that they're gluten free just to charge people more. Right. Like, of course, at some point here, technology is going to get cheap enough to a point where quantum's a big problem. But like right now in this moment of time, no. But and you address the AI bubble. I don't know that there's an AI bubble, but it's like you were saying with metaverse and how Rob was talking about everybody's just slapping AI on everything just to get the keyword. Like, yeah, people are doing that. But as far as agentic AI, like that is the future. And those projects are going to do very, very well. I think it's just having people distinguish between what's just using it as a keyword and what's going to be actually used for agentic AI.
Yeah, Crux and I actually had a discussion about this over on Crypto Archie's channel the other day as well. And I agree with him there, though, that when it comes to the stock market and precious metals, I said this over there, I do believe that there's a bill coming due. It's been like 2 years of running for both of those asset classes. And I do think a reckoning is coming. I think we are going to see a dramatic downside on both of those both of those asset classes. And for me, it's a welcome relief because, the next strategy, the next question as investors is, as we know, liquidity is like water. It's not a bear market everywhere just because it's a bear market somewhere, right? So where is that liquidity going to flow into next is the question we have to ask ourselves. All that liquidity draining out of the S&P 500, out of precious metals, where's it going to go?
Right. Yeah. So I'm kind of known as a conspiracy dude around my little group over there. Now, I think I have a little bit to back this. So when I talk about 4-year cycles, I'm like, all this thing does is it goes up 3 years and it goes down 1 year. And then it goes up 3 years and then down 1 year. And that's how I've been so it's just too easy though. So I'm like, this got to be manipulated. Like, who's pulling the strings on this and what can happen? So I don't like when it comes to quantum computing, for example, like, of course, I can't go out to Best Buy and buy like a quantum computer and just wreck the system. But I do think quantum computers do exist that can most likely do that. And, we're just kind of sitting ducks if they do something like that. And I think the story of Mythos rather, it dropped about 2 weeks ago. It's Claude's like their large language model. We got it. It was called Fable 5 in America, and they took it from us. And whenever I was using it, I would get a prompt back and I was like, this is like the holy grail of LLMs. And I don't now have access to it. So I think a lot of technology exists that I will never be able to harness just as a regular person.
Yeah, great points to say the least. Elon Muff, thank you so much. Crypto Mike, appreciate the super chat, my friend, the $2 super chat. He says, let's get it. Yes, absolutely, let's get it. And not representing the floating head of the triple threat today, my friend. Inside joke, but we'll get more into that on another particular date. All right, thank you so much.
Got a question for Crux in the chat.
It's Ronaldo.
Ronaldo.
Here we go. There we go. This is a
Imagine.
Ronaldo, not Morocco.
Yeah, that's Portugal right there. What the heck, right? You know, so.
Yeah, I got it. I was actually in Portugal in 2022. So this was the World Cup 4 years ago. And I was walking the streets. They were playing a game. It was probably the craziest thing I've ever seen. I'm talking about windows. People were hanging halfway out of them on like a third floor. Like, you know, and every time they would score, the whole city would go crazy. It was just wild. This was in Lisbon, Portugal.
Nice. I would love to go to something like that eventually. It's crazy. Soccer fans can be crazy, man. Could be dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
not as more dangerous as New York when they had those San Antonio jerseys.
Fair enough. We got Omni 257 says, is payroll going to be settled in Zebec, or is Zebec just for service fees that employers will pay in order to process payroll in cash? Rue, you want to field that one?
Yeah, I'll take it. Payroll will be settled. The service fees will be settled in Zebec, but they have it written in a very nice way in that you can use any stable coin and it will just automatically be transferred into Zebec. The fees will.
Max, I'm going to throw this one at you, brother, because this is actually one of our topics we're going to cover. A lot of FUD around MSTR stock. Now, I did read this morning that they are actually now officially being investigated in terms of their stocks. What do you have on this? What did you find today?
Yeah, so I'm glad you guys are bringing some of that up. Thank you so much for the super chat to you, Ricky. So there was a lot that was discussed in regard to that. I won't make it too super long. Obviously, outlets like CoinDesk is sharing it, but yeah, MicroStrategy, their STRC preferred stock did crash below 100. Obviously, we just talked about BTC basically crashing to multi-year lows right around the 58K to 60K range. So in light of that, when you look at the stock, well, the stock was supposed to be designed to trade near 100 and help raise money to buy just that more BTC. Obviously, Michael Saylor was like, yeah, gung-ho this, right? But yeah, it did fall hard into the 80s. People were referencing that. So while people were like, hey, look at the whole thing that happened with SpaceX and that crash as well. Well, over here, right? Like over here, I should say, here's what's going on with MicroStrategy and so on. Long story short, this is basically triggering higher dividend cost for, of course, just that MicroStrategy. And just like yourself, it's raising a lot of questions about their BTC buying model, right? And also has led to scrutiny / legal threats, obviously, from numerous different outlets and whatnot, not just one. Again, if you guys want to look more into it, you know that Rue covers a lot of stocks over on Blackrue Investing, but the ticker symbol is MSTR, and it's also obviously getting hammered. So that's what's going on for the most part. I'll just add this as well. The company does, in fact, have a well-known, they're kind of well-known for hoarding massive amounts, obviously, of BTC, and is basically in serious trouble with one of its main funding tools. So when that stock obviously crashes, it makes it hard for more expensive buying of BTC, and people point that out, like, hey, what the heck is going on here? So yeah, they are one of the biggest corporate buyers, and it's obviously spooking the whole market. Maybe you're one of them. So that's the quick gist on that.
I would like to take a victory lap on this, because last year, when we were in more of a bull run scenario, I did talk about how when Bitcoin drops below MicroStrategy's cost average, we could start to see some problems for strategy. Now, not in a sense that they're going to get, liquidated, so to speak, because I think that their liquidation level is something like $9,000 or something. It's ridiculously low. Like, it's so low that Bitcoin's not going to go down to that level, right? I think it's something like that. But I did say again that when Bitcoin started to get below their cost average, we were going to start to see problems, because everyone was not that from the TradFi world that is involved with strategy is not just going to be okay being in the red for, I don't know, a year, maybe more, when it comes to their Bitcoin holdings. They're not just going to be cool with it, right? So, Crux, you got something to add?
Yeah, you mind bringing that up? Okay, so earlier I talked about October is when I called the top. It was in that video up there. Now, if you look down and left, actually like 2-3 videos under it, you'll see Michael Saylor, and he is on that thumbnail. So what I did back in November, I already knew after calling the top that MicroStrategy was going to be the crazy part of this bear market. Why? Because last cycle it was. The liquidation price last cycle was closer to about $4,000. So after I already knew, the top was in, we're going to a year-long bear winter. Most likely it's going to be 40K. If you want to know like the next 90 days, it's that bottom right red price action down there. That relief pump most likely is going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news event on the Clarity Act, probably in August. But anyways, going back into MicroStrategy, I did all the math there, and this was before STRC depegged. And I talked about four different stocks that they have. So it was like STRC, MSTX, MSTR, and a couple others, I think. But what I was able to conclude was they had a liquidation price of about $9,800 or so. So I got out 6 months in advance. I already knew all of this was going to happen. And I think the further out in crypto that you plan, the better actually you do as an investor, because you hear all this like near-term price action stuff, like we got some tensions going on, and we got a carry trade 2.0 that might take off, and we try to beat the market to it. But in reality, if we would just bought during that 1 year that is down and then held for the 3 years, we would have done much better. So that's what I like to teach over at the Crux of Crypto.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Speaking of Japan, well, before I pivot over to Japan, Rue, did you have anything to say on this topic?
Well, it's interesting. People say that once I think I heard that people said that everyone who bought Bitcoin is now, or 50% of the people who bought Bitcoin are now in the red.
Yeah,
and that's when we reached a market bottom, and that's where we're at right now. So. Be kind of curious if we might have reached the bottom. I don't know.
I know Blockchain Backer covers that uses that metric a lot, for sure. But like I've looked at it, and like I said, for me, this next leg down for Bitcoin, we're coming down between 55 and 56. I have been charting the head and shoulders pattern on the lower time frames for a while, for a few weeks now. It's just starting to play out. I'll show you real quick too here. Again, I've been charting this for quite a while here, guys. Like I said, you got your head and shoulders. I know it's kind of wonky, but when you go down to the lower time frames, you go down to the 8-hour and stuff, it's a lot more prevalent that it was playing out, right? We continually rejected off the 30-day moving average on the 8-hour, and we completely lost this support line, and we were coming down. My target, as you can see, this white line, right down around that 55, 56K level. I think it's going to take a couple days to get there, but nevertheless, I think that's where we're going. And we're even dropped right now, back down to 59.2. I think we probably tomorrow put in a lower low than we did today, but don't be shocked. Like, listen, it's not financial advice, guys, but if you're putting in shorts right now, it might not be a bad idea to I personally wouldn't keep my stop losses too tight, because I think it's possible we bounce back up to resistance at about 60,770 to test that as resistance first. And I would personally hate to put in a short, get stopped out, and then it goes down to the target that I was expecting it to go down to in the first place, right? That's frustrating as all hell. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been watching on Bitcoin's chart, but I wanted to
from you guys think that it's going to go down lower. You don't think that any of these catalysts are going to come to fruition anytime soon, as far as like the Clarity Act, as far as what's going on with the DTCC and their soft launch, and July 13th? None of those play in for you.
Personally, I think that I'm going to throw this to Crux in a second to get his opinion on it, but I think that right now, because we actually discussed this in detail over on Archie's channel the other day again, I don't think that the Clarity Act as a catalyst has enough strength to counterpunch everything else that's going on, the rising inflation, the Bank of America now projecting 3 rate hikes this year alone, the Iran situation, that's not settled yet. I just don't think the Clarity Act has the the strength to overcome all of that right now in a macro. What do you think, Brooks?
Yeah, it's clearly been being kicked down the road. So Brad Garlinghouse said with a 90% probability it would be passed by April. He had the highest probability. There's a lot of people like Senator Cynthia Loomis that also said it was going to be passed. So there's a lot of people, including even Brian Armstrong, he said it'd be passed. And that's clearly being kicked down the road, and it's because it's not the time to drop it. Because if we drop it right now, most likely it's going to get a relief pump, and then we're just going to go down and right because of all these tensions we just talked about. But I kind of want to get tinfoil real quick. If you want to share that that other screen that I have going on, this is how Bitcoin works, right? So you have these like vertical up and right periods. This is actually whenever the OGs are selling off. So that's during that 1 year. That's why we go into these bear markets, is because these OGs, they sell. So you'll notice for 3 years straight, it'll basically just go sideways. This means the Satoshis, the Hal Finneys, everybody is just holding, right? And then you get that year, and then they sell. And what happens is the realized price of Bitcoin and then the realized price of the OGs, it crosses. And the price of Bitcoin will go about 20% under the realized price of the OGs. So as you can see, recently, it has not crossed yet. So what I'm expecting is the OGs of the world, whenever you're on Twitter and you're scrolling and you're like, all right, some whale woke up from 15 years ago and just dumped 45,000 Bitcoin on the market. That's those guys. And, get real tinfoil with me here, because I think these people, they are releasing Bitcoin like a proof of stake network. What do I mean by that? So with proof of stake networks, typically have something called an emission schedule. It's like maybe for Ondo Finance, like every January 18th, they unlock like 16% of the supply. Like Bitcoin, these OG whales, they've had the supply, kind of like how Ripple, they have a whole bunch in escrow. These OGs are holding on us and they are selling. And then they're bringing the price down every year. And then guess what? Eventually, retail is going to own enough to be able to break that 4-year cycle. But that's currently what we're seeing. You're not going to hear this on any other channel because this is pretty conspiracy. But this chart, it tells you that story.
I dig it, brother. I dig it, man.
Conspiracy.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Max.
Sorry, I was going to say conspiracy or not. I mean, the way I look at it is I like the idea that you've taken the screenshots of what you have predicted in the past and you've been pretty consistent on it. So people can call it conspiracy all they want. At the end of the day, there's a saying in the world of gaming, screenshots or it didn't happen. And like we have some things to reference here. And I'm glad you're doing this breakdown, whether people want to call it conspiracy or not.
Thank you. If I roll down the left side of my bed every day and I made money on that day, I'm going to keep doing that. So it doesn't make sense. Yeah. It does not make sense, but I'm going to keep doing it. So that's how I look at Bitcoin. Until that 4-year cycle breaks, hold for 3 years, sell for 1.
Hey, man, you got a lot of people beat, like you shared, obviously on our, either today's video or the other one where you, took 130K, basically, what was it, turned to 1.3 million to say the least. So yeah, there's something to be said about that, right? Maybe listen to what Crux has to say here, everybody.
Maybe. I mean, I pretty went irrational up through 11,000 into VeChain and turned it into, and this is like at a cent, it went up to 28 cents. So, I mean, you do the math, like multiple 6 figures, and I should not have done that. Like, looking back at it, that was a lot of money. So if I have $130,000, I put 11K of that's like 10% into this like random like altcoin. Well, it wasn't random. I watched Ben Armstrong. The days were pretty rough, but I got VeChain off of that plug, and I made some money. So
nice.
Different type of cycle to say the least. But hey, you know what? There's nothing wrong with referencing that. We all have our different testimonials, if you will. I mean, mine back in 2021 was basically Dogecoin at a penny, Shiba Inu really early. I think it was like 6 zeros. Rue, obviously Cardano. What do you come in at? A penny, 2 pennies, something like that. Penny. My God.
Yeah.
I think you did like
like
100x basically.
Yeah.
That's simple math. The best I did was Shiba Inu. I did 11x on that. Anyway, it is what it is.
I actually wish I was more convicted at that time because so many people were like, oh, crypto's this and that, and I was like, we'll just we'll dip our toe.
What am I talking about? That's basic math. No, I didn't. Shiba Inu wasn't my best one as far as the X's go. It was actually Dogecoin Because when I think about that, well, everybody was like, Dogecoin's going to go to over $1. I was like, I'm going to stick to my gut here. And I got out of that one at roughly like 71, 72 cents. So let's say 71, right? I was in at a penny. Yeah, that's basic math. That's like a 71x. So what am I even talking about that? Yeah. Anyway.
We are going to talk, for a couple people asking in the chat, we are going to talk about Zebec a little bit later. So so just be patient. I wanted to segue over to Japan for a minute. With Ripple's RLUSD receiving regulatory approval in Japan, what does this mean, Max?
Means a lot. I was going to say big shout out to our brother in space, Smoke. He did an excellent outline on this. I'm not going to, I'm not going to pull up on your screen. I'll just give you guys the quick gist. God knows how many times he's seen the deep dives with me. But yeah, you want to know something? People need to realize that while they'll say, well, some RLUSD is on Ethereum. Guys, that was always part of the plan, right?
Well, it's like 50% of the supply that's minted is on our, Ethereum, so it's pretty close.
But again, it was always part of the plan to drive liquidity to where the XRPL. So I don't want people to forget about that. But yeah, Smoke had this piece about it in reference to all the big news today, and he basically points out that the supply concentration on Ethereum, of course, reflects Ripple strategy. No, we're not talking about MicroStrategy and all that nonsense from earlier with BTC BS, but nonetheless, that was the strategy to tap into the deep pools of enterprise liquidity that already exists there. And that's where it's at for me, enterprise liquidity. I know that, some of us here at the Coin Vault and also some of our special guests and so on, maybe we don't see eye to eye when it comes to the strategy of it all. Like some people say, yeah, the Clarity Act, when it happens, it's going to be a nothing burger. Hey, Rob, I love you, brother. We can agree to disagree on it. I still go back to the documents and I say to myself, this has to be the enabler, because the documents show that literally when it comes to where the central banks and so on, I always use that reference. Bank of Indonesia is probably the best reference because they love Ripple's use case. They love the whole idea of XRP for on-demand liquidity. But again, what's the main issue? They cannot legally hold it on their balance sheet until there's real, true regulatory oversight and, more importantly, like that quote-unquote clarity. So for me, all right, what would be the differentiator? And you and I talked about this in yesterday's video that came out today, Crux. It's the order books. You can't put in your order, to a sense, right, unless you have that clarity. I mean, that's what's different. So the takeaway in regard to the whole thing of Japan, et cetera, is going to create a gateway for, again, more Ethereum-based capital to flow where? Well, think about it. I mean, into the XRP ecosystem as RLUSD adoption grows. Now, there's going to be people that hate XRP. They're going to report all this like, oh, yeah, when I watched that one guy's video with the math and, he's telling everybody that basically, the main option is going to be RLUSD because that's going to be the main option. Well, you would be right. But right how? Currently speaking, everybody, think about why stablecoins were created for the most part. Think about Ripple's problem. Ripple's problem was they needed some form of clarity. And this is, again, before the whole thing of the SEC case wrapping up. So they said, you know what? We're going to get some kind of form of clarity now. And they went out and got RLUSD. But now moving forward, things are going to change, right? And of course, we give honorable mention to things like Jasmine. Rob and myself have been covering some things about the whole thing of JPYD stablecoin. You guys could literally go to the JPYD site and see the orchestration and see the key partners that are listed there. And of course, they show Jasmine there. They show Sagantosu there. They even show a Ripple partner there. Why even highlight any of this? Because we understand that when it comes to liquidity, you have to have these pairings. You have to have some form of collateral to buy the underlying digital asset that you hold. So I think this is a big deal moving forward. Just real quick, I also want to report that RLUSD had a market capitalization of 1.26 billion, with 82% of the supply circulating on Ethereum, and of course the remainder on the XRPL. But the concentration on Ethereum does reflect Ripple's strategy to tap into, again, these deep pools. Well, again, deep pools would also lead to things like liquidity. What's Ripple's main product? Come on, guys, on-demand liquidity.
Mhm. It's not that we disagree on the Clarity Act as a catalyst. It's that we disagree on the timeline of what will happen in terms of price appreciation for said catalyst. To be
Fair
clear.
enough. Friends can disagree about stuff. Oh no, the tension. Oh, so much tension.
Ooh,
Oh no,
the tension. Ooh.
Oh yeah, there's all spooky stuff going on here. For me, it's like, not you guys, but some people that point out the tension. It's like, does anybody have friends? Can friends not disagree on things? Well, I want a friend that agrees with everything on me.
I'll tell you, I work real close with Tim Warren and Taylor Shrum and some of the old crypto Jeb guys, and we argue every day. We argue about everything, so it's just, that's part of it. But we know, like, at the end of the day, Bitcoin, crypto is going to do its thing, and people are going to agree to disagree. But the best part about that is you learn. You hear all these different sides, and why does Rob think the way he does? Why does Max think the way he does? So use this and formulate your own opinion. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anyone with a Facebook account knows that most people can't disagree with friends without ending the friendship. I mean,
it's getting like that. It is getting like that. I see my friends list fall down every day. So.
And people wonder why I'm not active on Facebook. It's because, I think about when it was originally created. I'm like, hold on a second. Didn't we have these problems back in middle school? So you want me to get on this platform, basically, and just kind of do an online version of it? They're like, yeah, exactly. I'm like, all right. And I went ahead and did it anyway. In reality, the only reason I'm on Facebook is to keep in contact with, family that's overseas. And they're way overseas, right? Anyway.
This was my first year. I said, happy Juneteenth. All right. I get it. It's a little controversial. I lost some friends. I'm just like,
that's so ridiculous.
Everybody
gets so triggered.
I'm just like, hey, this is my first year ever saying it. And I don't think it's that bad, right? But people, they just think, oh, you must be a Democrat or you must be this way. I don't like, I do the research and I align with something that I believe in, and I think that's okay.
You think that's bad? I did an intro, and it's one of my controversial conspiracy videos or whatever, but it showed a little bit of Trump, and somebody was trying to spin it like, oh, this is what you think of Trump. I'm like, that is not it. You're missing the whole point. And then they're like, well, because you had that in your intro, goodbye. I'm like, that easily triggered you. All right. Bye, Felicia. You saved me some a bunch of nonsense. Cause sometimes there's some idiots in the comments once in a while that, let's face it, get banned from the channel, but they'll keep freaking making remarks thinking that everybody can see it. Bye. You're not causing me to lose any sleep.
Yeah, I remember once anyone who knows me knows I'm more right leaning. I'm a conservative. My whole family is, like, in terms of my household, right? And but I'm also honest. When Trump does something stupid, I say he did something stupid, right? Because I'm not just gonna sit here and lie because to put a narrative out there. I did that once, and somebody put in the comment section, "Oh, someone's clearly a leftist." Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
I equally hate both sides. I really
I'm an independent.
With you.
I'm an independent that's slightly leaning right now.
Yeah. If you think that there's a party that are the good guys, I got a bridge to nowhere.
Fix it all and come on now.
Shout out to William. He says, "What do you guys think of Flare?" Personally, I love Flare. What do you guys think?
I think Flare's terrific. I know that I had this comment asked a few days ago when I highlighted a video that had a little bit of chain link. Oh no, Maximus has some chain link in his video. Oh yeah, people lose their mind over it. It's like, geez, of course I'm going to reference chain link. They're king of oracles, but the guy who mentioned obviously Flare, maybe it's you, I don't know. You're like, well, Flare is an oracle too, and you would be right. And of course on the XRPL. So I'm not throwing any shade, nonetheless, on. Something happened to Crux, but anyway, I'm not throwing any shade on Flare, not at all. I see what you did there. But anyway, my point is, Flare is going to do its thing. I just think that it's great to see. Was it Nathan Fillion, right? Talk about Flare and its use case and whatnot, but it's going to do its thing. I just don't know how soon it's going to do its thing. So some people point out, like, well, at these prices, sub a penny, right? What is it at, like 0.007, something like that, maybe lower? It's probably a good opportunity. I've been in and out of Flare over the years, but some of you guys' thoughts in regard to Flare. Do you feel as though it's a real true competitor to the king of oracles, which is Chainlink, or do you think like it's on equal ground? I actually do want your opinion on that.
I mean, is it trying to be a Chainlink competitor, or is it more like kind of like a bond market for XRP?
People do point out the whole Oracle side of things. Like they will consistently compare the two, like, oh, this Oracle versus that Oracle, that type of thing.
I thought it was more an interoperability piece for XRP in a sense. I guess it did take its phases. So the reason I got Flare was back in like 2020. If you had your XRP on Coinbase, they had this massive airdrop. It's whenever like Flare launched or whatever.
I remember that.
And really at that point, it was like a interoperability piece for XRP. I just haven't been tracking it too much ever since. But, you know, I would much rather hold Chainlink. You know, I hear about this all the time. If it is an Oracle, then I'm definitely going with Chainlink and or Pith. So,
yeah, to me, Flare is DeFi for or the bond market for coins that can't do DeFi, like you know, Doge, XRP, and I think they also say that they want to do something for Bitcoin as well.
Yes.
But you know, I never heard about it being an Oracle. You have to. Where is this coming from, Max?
So it's not coming from anywhere. That's actually in documentation. Go ahead.
I know, but what? How is it an Oracle for what? Like, why would it even be needed if you got Chainlink and things like that?
Well, that's you go ahead, Crux. No, no. You go ahead. You're the one put on the hat. You're the one put on the hat. So it's all on you. It's all on you.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. So the big story was like 2 years ago, like Bitcoin, it needed its day for DeFi because it's a proof of work network. It needs to be able to get like this 3 to 5% APY yield, like every other proof of stake network is doing. So all of these things have tried and they've failed over and over. They fail. I think about 2 years ago, Flare really rebranded based on that. They're like, we're going to try to make Bitcoin DeFi. We're going to try to allow people to lock up their Bitcoin and gain passive yield for it. I think the most successful so far is like wrapped Bitcoin and just taking that and throwing it on some ERC20 contract. But yeah, if Flare is able to do that, then it's going to do very well. But I don't think any product's going to come through and just be the DeFi for Bitcoin.
By the way, I'd just like to mention as well that DCENT, our channel sponsors, is actually doing a Flare airdrop. They're doing a bunch of airdrops in the XRPL ecosystem, and they started with Flare. So if you want some free Flare, you got to use our link down below in whatever channel you're on, and get yourself a DCENT wallet. And the catch is you have to hold your XRP on your DCENT wallet, and you will get multiple airdrops as they do them for different projects in the XRPL ecosystem. So,
also another disclaimer real quick, since we did talk about quantum resistant and all that, David Schwartz has highlighted that technically you can make your XRP quantum resistant by simply like doing something like a DCENT wallet or cold storage. But basically you can have it coming into your cold storage, but as long as you don't have anything coming out, that would technically make your XRP quote unquote quantum resistant. So there is that.
Yeah, that's because once you do that outbound transaction, it's public information, and anything that's public can be attacked. So you have to send it into your wallet and never touch it.
Yeah, it's almost like closing the gate, or not just closing the gate, but sealing literally the gateway.
But yeah, no, that's that question about Flare being Oracle. I don't understand why you would want to do that. Why Flare would want to do that.
Well, do you want to have a deep dive for an hour?
It's the hardest use case in crypto to conquer, honestly.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like
you can bring smart contracts to an ecosystem. Like oracles, like you are competing with everything. You got real world data. It is super expensive.
Is it not big enough to just try to bring DeFi to XRP and Doge and Bitcoin that you're also going to try adding an oracle to that? Like that's
dream big, brother. Dream big.
I get where you're going with that, because some people point out like, well, then why does Ripple have a partnership with Chainlink if they're the king of oracles, and then you have Flare, which is part of your ecosystem, the XRPL, that's supposed to be an oracle as well. It's like a conflict of interest, but in reality, to me, it's not, because I look more at Chainlink from like a institution / enterprise side, and then I look at Chainlink more being within that XRPL ecosystem itself, creating oracles for just that. But we can, who knows? Maybe that's the recorded video we do with the with the coin vault moving forward. I don't know. Maybe people won't even care. Better not talk about stable coins. Nobody will actually watch the video, right?
It's crazy because stable coins are the most important piece of crypto right now.
I know, but if you put that on the thumbnail, nobody gives two you know what's, man.
Yeah.
Rue and I have tested this how many times, Rue? At least 3 times. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
You can't make money off a stable coin. That's why.
You can lose money. Trust me. UST, I lost $22,000 overnight.
Oof.
It was worth $1. It went down to like 88 cents or something. And then there was the whole Terra Luna situation in 2022. I ended up selling, I think, at 33 cents. So I had 33,000 worth of it, and I sold all 33,000. So I lost 66% on that. So I came out with $11,000 on my UST. Yeah.
So I want to address these 2 super chats. And then, Rue, I'm going to be throwing this at you. What is the update on Zebec? We should dive into that. We're already running at 40 minutes. So, Omni says, any of you know much about Telcoin? They did get their banking charter license. I think it was 2024. I think that happened.
They've had it for a long time.
Yeah. Here's my one problem with them. They don't have any listings, man. Hard to buy, hard to sell. Is what I think
that's on purpose. I swear when they do that, it's on purpose. Like, remember when they delisted Stronghold from everywhere and then it went on a run, right?
Man, yeah, that token is. I like it. It is highly manipulated. If you look at like the price action, what happens is it just skyrockets, and then over like the next like 4 months, it just goes down, and then just skyrocket. It's like you can make a ton of money off of it. So if you're an investor, not financial advice, that's a good one to look into, but it's clearly manipulated.
Nice, Crooks. Yeah, I agree there. But yeah, I like Telcoin. Yeah, they seem to have. I think they're one of, besides Metallicus, they're the only 2 cryptos that have actual bank status.
Nice. This one's for you, Rue. Like Green Man says, hey, Rue, I went to IDO's website, and XRP, XLM, and Ripple Ledger are in that ecosystem.
Yeah, I've been looking into them since you mentioned them last night. Like Green Man, I'm liking what I see. I might have to do a show on them for sure. Thanks for bringing them up yesterday.
Nosy Neighbor says, hey, Rue, I got my million flare back. And respectfully, your timeline is wrong for crypto. We'll take off soon. Crypto has. Listen, you're absolutely allowed.
Nosy Neighbor comes in with the guns out.
Yeah, just body slamming me here. No, it's, you know what? You're allowed to disagree with me, my friend. That's what we're all about, is different opinions, different perspectives.
But
so only time will tell who's correct.
Can I tell you, the second part of that statement is correct. I do think that our timeline is right. Going into like Q3, Q4 of this year is when we most likely bottom, Clarity Act or not. But the second part says crypto has to be established by 2030. And the math is mathing. Because if we have diminishing returns, let's just say we do a 4x from the bear market low to the cycle high. Let's just say it's already bottomed out, right? We do a $60,000 4x. We go to 240K. By April of 2028, we have a halving event. Bitcoin takes about $180,000 to mine globally. So if we went up to let's just say 240, and we retrace another 60% to a year-long bear winter, it's going to be just too much pressure against the miners, and most likely Bitcoin will collapse. So I do think crypto, this is the last time to break a 4-year cycle, and hopefully we break the diminishing returns of a 4x. And I get the 4x. I don't pull it out of thin air. What I do is I took the 22x in the 2021 bear market. I took the 8.2x that we got from 15.5 to 126. And then there was like an 80x or so before that 22x. So it's about 0.4 times the multiple. So that's where I got the about a 4x or so from the 8.2x of last bull market. So
nice. All right, Rue. What's going on with Zebec, buddy? It's the moment everybody's been waiting for. What is the juicy news? Nothing? Okay, have a good night.
we got a little bit here. We got a little bit here. If you give me 5 minutes, I'll bring up my screen.
You're on the clock, man.
You see what I did there? I said, if you give me 5 minutes, I'll bring up. So right here, guys, we got a few different things from Zebec here. One of which
it's not adding. Hang on. Okay.
Oh, let me take mine off. No.
The super. Let me know when you guys got it up. Pause. So
you can see it.
All right, sweet. So the super app has been cleared of its regulatory requirements and submitted to both the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. That's pretty big there. And most recently, we had here the Euro AU. Okay, the all Unity stablecoin live now on Stellar. I've been talking about this the last couple of shows where we know that Tether got delisted in Europe, and a lot of that liquidity might come over to all Unity stablecoin. Therefore, that liquidity will come over to Zebec if it is used. Okay, so I think this is big news as far as Zebec getting some liquidity. I think all these kind of Euro stablecoins, the Euro AU Circles version, which is I think Euro C, and there may be another one in there that Stellar has. I think these guys are going to get a lot of liquidity. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Well, what happens? I would put the question out there. What happens to in Zebec's ecosystem when we see liquidity and volume and transactions continue to increase at scale? What happens to Zebec, Rue?
Well, I believe the price goes up. I mean, it has to, right? Like, if we're going to get all this liquidity in, they're going to have buybacks, right, of the coin. It's going to be, so
deflationary. That's right. Yep,
so
and the burns, baby.
Yeah, so I think that looks really, really good there. Also, they had some news from World Liberty Financial, in which World Liberty Financial Markets went live in the super app. So now you have that yield in the super app as well. If you read this one here, World Liberty Financial Markets is now live in the Zebec super app, powered by World Liberty Financial and Dolomite. Users can now use risk-managed lending pools and high-efficiency liquidity vaults powered by World Liberty Financial directly within the super app. And also here from Zebec, they gave the Enterprise app a big facelift, okay? Introducing the all new Zebec Enterprise, employees, contractors, vendors, and all-in-one platform for global payroll and HR management, bringing streaming payroll and modern global teams. I covered a lot of this yesterday on my show, on my channel, and I think we heard from Simon in the Crypto Hawk interview where he says that the relationship would deepen with Canton. If it does deepen with Canton, there are a whole bunch of enterprises over there with the institutional, non-institutional chain of Canton, right? That Zebec could possibly do payroll for. So I really think they're getting in line to get that done, right? And maybe it starts with some companies over in Europe, since the Clarity Act may not be where it needs to be yet. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Well, I mean, I didn't have any thoughts on that specifically, Root, but I do want to talk about two other major things that are happening as this month comes to a close. While you read the private chat, Rue, because there's something you need to read in there. So, guys, two things are coming up that are of importance by the end of this month. Number one, obviously, the Zebec Super App for mobile, right? Now, the timeline for that is actually the end of June, right? Because that is the end of the second quarter. So July 1st is the beginning of the third quarter. So Simon has stressed himself and Zebec that the goal is to have the mobile super app cleared. Now, here was the update the other day, though. They did announce, I think yesterday or the day before, that they actually have officially met the regulatory requirements on the mobile super app and have submitted their applications to Apple Store and Android, right? The Play Store. So they're just waiting for those Apple and Android stores to get back to them on the mobile app officially being live. So that's massive news. So that matches up with the timeline. Now, something I covered in a video the other day, is this going to send the price of Zebec parabolic? Obviously not, right? But it is good in the big picture, in my opinion, for Zebec, right? Again, as we move forward, more people are being onboarded onto the mobile super app because, listen, most people don't have desktops and laptops anymore, unless you're like a content creator or something, or you have like a home office. A lot of people just do everything on their phones now. So when that mobile app goes live, you're going to have a lot more transactions. You can stake on there. You can use your Zebec cards on there and much, much more, right? So you're going to have a lot more volume, a lot more transactions, which is going to increase the token buybacks and burns, continuing the deflationary aspect of the ecosystem. So again, it's not going to pump your Zebec instantly, in my opinion, but over the long run, it is. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think that will be really big and huge for American employers. Simon talked about it in the Paul Barron interview, where they have that virtual IBAN, where basically American employers could pay anyone anywhere in any stablecoin they want, right? So it'd make it very easy for them to have a remote employee and via the phone and the Zebec super app and pay them for very much reduced fees. So it's very, that's only going to help have more liquidity into Zebec, because that will make it easier for them to pay remote employees that are not in America.
Yeah, I'm not usually good with talking about tokens that are like 0.0000 and then like some other numbers. So I usually look at market cap, and that's how I find my multiples. And so I did a video like 2 weeks ago, and I talked about why I think Zebec is going to, I got the multiple is basically a 22x at the time. And this was whenever Bitcoin was closer to about 60, I want to say about 63K or so. So it's before we came down to the 200 and pushed through it. And I got that from a 5 billion market cap. So this is more or less, I wasn't able to find some magical number for 5 million. That's kind of just what I chose on how I felt. But the market cap at that time was a little bit over 300 million. It's pulled back since. So I would not be surprised to see Zebec still get to that 5 billion market cap. And if it is, at 300 or even lower than 300 million within the next 90 days, I think it may have the potential to go much higher. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Max.
All right. So listen, I have to recognize this guy. You guys don't realize how far we go back. So yeah, as you guys know, I'm DPG Maximus, right? So if you can highlight Wesley Sloan's comment from X where he's like, "Sup, bro, 9." I don't know if you see that. Just gotta do this real quick. All right. So anyway, this guy, he was known in DPG right above that. It was just "Sup, bro."
His profile picture.
All right, so he doesn't really look like that. He's a real life firefighter in the Baltimore area. So he joined DPG in like, God, man, like I want to say April of 2002. And shout out to, the late great Will Fix, who passed away last year. So this guy, I haven't talked to him for years, right? And he came and visited me down here in Phoenix. I don't know. Thanks so much for tuning in. He was known as Omaha, right? We all call him Omaha. But man, I'm so honored to see this guy in the comments, man. Like, and when he says 9 Bitcoin will go up 9%, it's because we used to play Metal Violent Allied Assault, and this guy would always play as the German scientist with the white lab suit. And back in those days, before like Call of Duty, you could have taunts, right? So like you could spam like what was it, like on my keyboard it was like 0 and then the number 2, and then your character would say 9. So he was like I'll be the last guy on my team trying to find out where all the the German bad guys are, right, on the bridge map, and then you hear in this tavern somewhere 9, 9, 9, 9 over and over.
Yeah.
Again. So I'm so honored to have him here. We go way back, and God bless you, Omaha, for being here, man. I had to highlight him, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't think they'll ever be able to fix taunting because all I got to do is stand over like a dead body and just hit the kneel button. It's basically, teabagging. So that's kind of like the good old days of Call of Duty there.
Man, I don't care what anybody says. Medal of Honor Allied Assault, that is the greatest first-person shooter game ever made, period. To be able to open a door, throw a grenade in there, even underhanded, shut the door, that guy blows up. Oh, the game was so great, man. So great. So many great memories. That was the golden age of FPS gaming by far.
I'm gonna have to go to N64 and say Rainbow Six, man.
Well, there's GoldenEye and stuff like that.
GoldenEye. GoldenEye. Oh my God.
Man, y'all going too far back. So y'all are saying these are better than Call of Duty Modern Warfare. That's the glory days.
In a lot of ways.
The glory days of a first-person shooter is Modern Warfare.
GoldenEye's a classic, bro.
Yeah.
Nostalgically,
Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2. That's whenever people started doing 360 no scopes and like it was.
Yeah, but Modern Warfare 2. See, that's the whole thing. They got rid of like dedicated server support. They got rid of mod tools. It was I'm DPG, right? This guy that you just see, Wesley Sloan, is from DPG. So when Activision did all this, right, that was the death of like DPG moving forward. Like, how are we going to really grow? We had to play the older games and stuff like that. Anyway, I could talk
one clan to the next. You had Phase Gaming, you had Optic, there's some pretty big groups out there. So.
One of my
I always laugh when people call it lobbies. We played on servers, but go ahead.
He was undefeatable with Odd Job in the facility, bro.
Oh yeah, I love playing as Odd Job. Yeah, and if you know, back in the day when everybody played as Odd Job, you didn't call him Odd Job, you called him Job, right?
Yeah. That was that blue cartridge. Yeah.
So I got one more question I wanted to field to you guys. End of the month, beginning of a new quarter. Any Jasmy fan out there knows exactly what this means. The assessment of the monitoring zone tags on Binance. Does Jasmy get the tag removed, monitoring zone tag removed the first week of July? What do you think, Max?
I hate to say it. I mean, it could be a 50-50 on that one. And, if I'm wrong, I hope it's like, a 99% chance, but we're talking about Binance here, right? So we understand, like you mentioned, you went and mentioned, you literally met up with Hara from Jasmy Labs. You guys talked about this, of how Changtion was literally birthed out of direct result of a Jasmy being put into that monitoring zone, right? And that's where a lot of people, they don't quite see that. They don't understand that Jasmy needed a layer 2 scaling solution. They end up getting that, right? And of course, remember how we just talked about Chainlink earlier. So they needed the Oracle. They needed that interoperability. Went out and did that partnership. So I'm going to say 50-50 chance. Now, if it was this time last year and you asked me the same question, Rob, I would give it like 1% chance. So I hope it's higher than 50% chance. We'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. For me personally, despite the fact, like Jesse from KIR Finance and you too, Max, and me, we've discussed this in length about the reasons why. And, a lot of people, they see something like that, they get frustrated and emotional, and they don't understand the reasons why Jasmy would have that tag. They think that it's some nefarious, and there could be a little bit of nefariousness behind it, so to speak. But let's be real. I mean, their website at the time, like 3 years ago, was trash, right? It didn't look like a blockchain website at all, right? Another thing that really bothered me is that they've never had that blockchain guy, that face of the company, the David Schwartz, the Charles Hoskinson, right? They've never had that guy for their company. So that also is kind of a problem. But like you said, they needed the scaling solution. The chart looked bad. from a look like a rug or something, but really what ended up happening, we know that they released the tokens into circulation. One of the reasons was so that they weren't holding 70% of the tokens, because then people would complain that it was centralized. So they released them all, and they warn everybody ahead of time that they're going to release them all. People don't pay attention, they release them, and then they call it a rug. So it's a lose-lose. It's like you either release the tokens into circulation so that it's a decentralized project, or you hold 70% of them and people hold that against you and say that it's centralized. So, but they officially have their mainnet launched. They officially have Jasmy meme coin launchpad. They have Jasmy DEX there now. We're seeing some developments inside the ecosystem. Despite all of that, I don't think they're going to remove it.
Yeah, it's like, what percentage would you say if you're going to throw that out there?
I would say 10%, man.
Well, then there you go, right? And who better to know than the guy that's literally gone to Jasmy Labs in person? You.
Yeah. There's been no build-up for anything, really. We're still waiting for the platform they're building with Panasonic to come out, connecting IoT devices. That was supposed to be out like the beginning of last year. It's still not out. Granted, I mean, if you've ever done a house project, it always takes longer than you project. And Jasmy reminds me a lot of Cardano, in a sense that I would rather have a project make sure that they're launching something without any bugs and miss their timeline than to launch something full of bugs to make their timeline, because you just that could destroy your project completely if it gets launched and it's a complete failure because of catastrophic bugs and stuff like that. I would rather have people frustrated about me not meeting my timeline than that.
Right. We were just talking about video games, and with that said, like, Cyberpunk, was it 2177 or 2077? Jeez, I mean, talking about releasing something way too quick to market. Anyways, this is a super chat for Rue.
What's up, Kevin Garrett, member of the Brew Crew? Shout out to my Patreon members. What is up, Brew Crew? Not to take away from the conversation, but I wonder what y'all think about Plugin, XDC's custom Oracle, which was forked from Chainlink. Also, y'all ready for crypto in GTA 6? Well, I know Max just did a video on XDC, but I also heard that R3 was doing some stuff with Solana. Is XDC dead? Or what's going on with XDC?
Not even close. That was something I pointed out, was it's just extra options. People say like, oh, I saw Solana, or I saw R3, they're going with Solana. So, okay, so you just abandon, was it over a billion XRP that was given to you, right? You just, let's just dismiss that. That just goes away. The XDC R3 coded bridge, I guess that bridge, we're going to destroy the bridge. No, man, we're talking about, when we talk about a fully multiverse world, as Rob is pointing out, it's just that it's multiverse. Those bridges don't go away. It's extra options. And then I don't know if you guys remember that tweet I put out a while ago when you saw Solana was just like, was it 589 XRP and all that? And I was just like, yep, this aged well. Because before that was the whole talk of Solana and R3, right? And there was this like, oh yeah, XRP or everything must be really upset because of that and whatnot. No, it's just people haven't done their proper research and whatnot when it comes to that. So no, that doesn't go away. I know you're saying, what up, Rue Crew? I'm pretty stoked on GTA 6. I think that's going to be amazing. Apparently, that's going to be like GTA, Vice City, but it's going to be like way better graphics, and I'm really, really stoked. I'm looking forward to it. Could we see personal data lockers with that? 100 million? That'd be great.
Or Ice Cube in the house.
Ice Cube, baby. 99, baby. All the time, baby.
And back in the day when I looked into XDC, you guys know I love symbolism. XDC's logo is very, very similar to the Zenfin logo to the UN logo, and there actually are some connections to the UN and XDC. So just a little something there.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, listen, we got to go around the table, collect your final thoughts. Rue, let's start with you. What's going on, buddy? What are your final thoughts on the evening?
Really excited what's going on with Zebec, and the Zebec and Canton connection is I'm pretty stoked about. Also really stoked about Canton and its ecosystem. I think with everything that's happening here coming up July and in October with what the DTCC is doing, that whole ecosystem might be rocking. And yeah, so pleasure as always, guys.
Absolutely, brother. Max, what do you got for us, brother?
Well, I'll make it brief. We didn't have a chance to talk about it, but we did have quite a few like brief updates. So just want to point this out. We didn't talk much about QNT, but today basically Gilbert Verdian joined a panel of some big players, to say the least, in regard to tokenization, Great Britain tokenized deposits. There was representatives with him on stage from Barclays, Lloyds Bank, NatWest, and they literally said this quote, which I think is bullish moving forward, which is, "This is the world's first tokenized deposit payment system built for industry by industry, an essential orchestration layer that gives every participant the ability to innovate, differentiate, and compete." And why am I going to mention that? Because again, around this time last year, we had Quant Network collaborated with BlackRock talking about some of these things. So that's a major, major thing. I don't think we really talk much about Canton. I just want to point out to you guys real quick that they accomplished some of their milestones. By all means, check out the Coin Bureau podcast. You had Yuval Ruiz on that. It was a really interesting discussion about real-time margining in Canton. Ripple, of course, they got this funny thing. I didn't have a chance to share it, but they put out a tweet earlier today, the road to clarity. So they got this like moving van, if you will, and on the side of it says on the road to clarity. And then it's kind of like transparent looking, or I should say clear looking. I thought it was kind of funny, to say the least. And what was it? Stellar, just real quick. We've shared the reports from RWA.io, I think, or XYZ, how Canton has like literally done a ton of volume when it comes to real world assets. We saw Stellar, they're like flexing today too. They recognize that they have some key metrics. And from what I gathered, they did $2 billion in the first quarter. What's the best part? They crossed the $3 billion mark earlier this week. So while Canton's obviously doing some big things, we had to give recognition to Stellar. We talked a little bit, obviously, of Zebec. Rob and Rue did a great job of breaking that down. If we had more time, I would give you my own thoughts on that. And I just want to throw this, guys, at you, because we did mention some Metallicus. I think it's interesting that today Metallicus reshared the whole thing of their full stack for a digital dollar infrastructure for banks and credit unions. So I mean, in light of all this talk about clarity, real true use case, earlier we are talking about Telcoin, and of course their banking license dating back to 2024. And again, Robbie, you're talking about like, well, Telcoin's cool, but not many exchanges. Guess what also sits in that same boat? Metallicus, right? So all we have is very limited on that access. But again, with true utility, I think people realize that these things are going to be used and whatnot. So it was interesting to see specifically this full stack digital dollar infrastructure for banks, credit unions, and so on. Honorable mention to credit unions integrations like Bank Social, but a lot of us here, at least on the Coin Vault and our other channels, have been putting a lot of emphasis on things like Metallicus. So, Jasmine, just real quick, we did mention that they hit a milestone. I don't know if it was earlier today or it was yesterday, but give or take, who's counting, reached over 100,000 holders. That is worth pointing out. So that's all I have. I know it was a lot.
Crux, what do you got? Well, actually, let me hit this. Exit Flip says BTC breaks 58K tonight. Where are we going next? For me, 55, 56K. What do you think, man?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be that, what you showed earlier, that head and shoulders, breaking down to Pi 55. We may come back up and hit 60 because we actually went down to 60 multiple times. We went back in February. We did in, I think, a couple months after February, and then we revisited it recently. So I'm going to blend this into my outro. And I think it's, so yesterday I did Tuesday I did a live stream. every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard. I do live streams, and I go at a minimum an hour. Sometimes I go up to 2 hours, and I always give my thoughts. So it's never like some like really just coordinated, like I'm going to talk about these projects. It's like, what do I need everybody to know in crypto? And you can see the thumbnail, it says the next 90 days. And I painted this picture of just like every single dollar that you make right now, think of it as $30. You just have to be able to have patience, have a plan. And just like I said, you know, if you're to buy Zebec, possibly this might 25x from here. And you have to mentally prepare yourself, or else you're going to sell it when it goes up 7x, or you're probably going to sell when it keeps going down. You know, like for me, I see 58K and I'm just happy. I think this thing, the closer it gets to 40,000, the more happy I get. And it's because the lower it goes down, I'm already thinking it's going to 20, 30x, as long as you buy the right projects.
Amen. I agree with all of that. Absolutely. The lower the price gets, the more excited I get. I do think we have more downside to go as this year unfolds. What I would say, guys, is you have time, breathe, pace yourself, and just enjoy the ride, because, you know, 2 years from now, when we're ramping things up, you're going to be sitting there going, man, I wish I could have bought more at those lower prices, right? It's always that way. So my final thoughts, though, are simply this. If you are a first-person shooter gamer and you like to play games online, guys, my advice to you today is never trust a man who says, one more game. All right?
Yeah, as long as you get the dub. Yeah. If you get the dub, you can get off, but you ain't going out on it's like basketball. You have to hit the last shot.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that wraps up yet another episode. Also, quick shout out to Underdog Research. I did see him in the chat earlier, and shout out to Moonfeather as well. She's here. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for supporting the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next one. God bless.
Peace.
God bless.